If you're a founder, you know this feeling. It's the ultimate dilemma. You're building something amazing. You're pouring your heart into it, but you're running out of cash. And then an offer lands on your desk. It feels like a lifeline, but it might just be the most expensive money you ever take. So today, we're going to break down the hidden dangers of that early stage funding. Okay, let me ask you something, and I want you to really put yourself in this situation. The phone bill is screaming at you, you're paying your one and only employee out of your own savings, and the future, well, it's a complete fog. Then someone offers you £15,000. It's not a life-changing amount, but it's breathing room, it's survival. The only catch? 10% of your company. What do you do? You know, this isn't just some hypothetical question. This is a real story, and it's right at the heart of what we're talking about today. So let's take a closer look at the exact situation when this offer was made. I mean, this just perfectly captures the feeling of an early-stage business, doesn't it? It was incredibly fragile. Cash wasn't just tight, it was a constant, nagging source of stress. There was no big 5-year plan. Clarity was pretty much limited to, how do we get through next week? The founders were in pure, unadulterated survival mode. And when you're in that state of mind, that 15 grand offer feels like a parachute, right? It feels like this generous lifeline being thrown down from above. But in reality, it was a trap. And I'm quoting directly from the source here. It would have been absolutely catastrophic for the future of the business. But why? And that brings us to the core lesson of this entire story. You've got to understand why the earliest equity you give away is almost always the most expensive. This right here, this is the psychological trap. It's so simple, but so powerful. When you're desperate, you just can't think clearly about the future. The immediate, burning need for cash completely overshadows the potential long-term value you're signing away. Your valuation isn't based on what your business could be, it's based on what you need right now. So here is how that distortion actually plays out in your head. You look at your tiny, struggling business, and you completely discount its massive future potential. You accept the investor's sense of urgency because, well, you're urgent too. And because you're just trying to survive today, you completely ignore the consequences that are going to play out over the next 5-10 years. It is a perfect recipe for really bad math. So here's the absolute gut punch. That 10% stake you give away for just 15 grand, it has the longest possible time to grow. It just sits there compounding and compounding in value as you do all the hard work. It captures the most explosive part of your growth, from 0 to 1. And the worst part? Once it's gone, it is gone forever. That 10% later represented millions. So what happened? You guessed it. They said no. Against all that pressure, all that desperation, their gut just told them it was the wrong move. And that one single, incredibly difficult decision, it was the most important one they ever made. It protected their ownership, their control, and ultimately their entire future. But wait, the story doesn't end there, because saying no to the money was only half the battle. The real turning point came when a completely different kind of support showed up. Just look at this comparison. It makes the difference so incredibly clear. On one side, you've got the cash offer. It gives you money, yeah, but it comes with a ton of pressure and demands equity. On the other side, you had support from a company called South Staff's Water. They didn't write a big check. They offered office space, phones, IT support. They offered stability. They took the stress away without demanding a single thing up front. And that right there is the big aha moment. The support they got was so much more valuable than cash because it gave them something priceless, the mental space to think. It removed the life and death pressure that was clouding their judgment. It bought them time to actually focus on building the business, not just chasing the next check. This whole experience, it really shines a light on a universal principle about the real role of an investor. And here's a spoiler. They aren't there to rescue you when you're about to collapse. Think of an investor's job like this. They are a multiplier. They're supposed to take the momentum you have already created, your first customers, your working product, and they amplify it. They pour gasoline on a fire that is already burning. What they cannot and will not do is create that initial spark for you. I want you to really let that one sink in for a second. So many founders have this fantasy of being saved by a funding round. But the hard truth is, the wrong kind of investment doesn't save a business. It just cranks up the pressure and usually makes you crash and burn faster. So you see, it's not about finding money. It's about finding alignment. The right partner gets that this is a long, hard journey and they respect your vision. The wrong one, they're just pushing for a quick exit and creating more stress. Remember, investment is a partnership, not just a transaction. And this brings us right back to that first critical decision. You know, on a spreadsheet, 15,000 for 10% of a company that barely existed, it might have looked okay. But the founder's judgment, that gut feeling, told them the deal was toxic. In those early days, that instinct is often your most valuable asset. Okay, so how do you actually apply all these lessons? Before you even think about taking outside money, you need to run through a little pre-flight checklist. These 5 questions get right to the point. 1. Does the business actually work on a basic level? 2. Is this money a tool for growth or is it just a band-aid for your stress? Number 3 is my absolute favorite. Would you want this person involved even if they brought 0 cash to the table? 4. Are you doing this from a place of strength and strategy or are you selling out of fear? And finally, the big one, the tenure test. And look, if you go through all those questions and there's still that little nagging feeling of doubt in your gut, the answer is actually really, really simple. You wait. You pause. Because the wrong deal is always, always worse than no deal at all. And that leaves us with this final, incredibly powerful principle. The one thing I hope you take away from all this. Are you trying to raise money to run away from the discomfort of building something from nothing? Or are you raising it because you've found clarity, because you know exactly what works and you just need the fuel to make it go faster? That distinction, that is everything.